Joe Gray coming to you live from the Tandoa Hotel. Behind me are the stakeholders and frontliners of the airport that have just undergone an extensive workshop on readiness and preparedness for the November 11th and December 1st flights into Fiji. When our borders open, these are our ambassadors at the airport that will showcase hospitality and also safety at our airport. And there's only one statement that we have for all our visitors and relatives overseas as they board that plane and come through to Fiji. What is it? Bring it on! Bring it on!
I'm Joe Gray. I hail from the beautiful island of Levuka, which is my maternal link, but I like to call it my village in Bureta and Toki. However, biologically, my father's English.
Joe Gray is one of Fiji's ultimate frontliners. As airports manager of Fiji's main Nadi International Airport, Fiji's main gateway to the world, he coordinates many of the frontline functions at the airport and is often one of the first people visitors see and interact with when they land in Fiji.
So the work that I do involves overseeing the operations at the airport on a daily basis. And when we talk about operations, it's in all aspects, from crowd control, stakeholders, concession, crowd movement, passenger flow, safety, and also arrival, departures, and the facilities and amenities that are at the airport, that we must maintain it to world-class standard as we portray to be. And that is what I do every day with the help of the wonderful team that I live and work with, who I've now called my family.
Joe was at the front lines when the deadly second wave of COVID-19 hit. And suddenly he and his fellow workmates, who had some of the most sought-after jobs in the country, a job that many felt was among the most secure given the country's main tourism industry, were on reduced pay and eventually out of work for almost 6 months. It was a situation that shocked, stunned, and paralyzed many. But it was also during these 6 months that Joe distinguished himself, putting himself out as a voice of inspiration, a voice of hope, and a voice of resilience, as he urged people to do what was necessary to vaccinate, to survive, and to do what was necessary to help the country back on track.
Good evening, and a very good morning. This is Joe Gray coming to you live from Nadi International Airport. When you look behind me, this is the door that used to welcome and allow 6,000 visitors in a day that come to visit our country, that boosts our tourism economy here in Fiji. Today, as you can see, the door remains to be open. And looking around you, there's only one security officer manning that for staff movement. Otherwise, this is your empty Nadi International Airport. We'd like our lives to be returned. We'd like to have these shops all open. We'd like to sing the Bula praises as tourists come through this arrivals concourse. We can only have that if you are going to be supportive in downloading the Care Fiji app and also accepting the vaccination. I have come back from overseas with a heart surgery, and I have had both vaccinations, and I'm fully vaccinated. If I can do it, so can you. Support the Love Your Locals Fiji. Love our locals. Get our lives back. Download the Care Fiji app and have that vaccination done. Protect yourself, your families, and your friends, and let's get our lives back here in Fiji. From Joe Gray here at Nadi International Airport, I'm pleading and begging with you to please get the Care Fiji apps on, and also accept and receive that vaccine to protect yourself and restore normality. Let's get Fiji back. Fiji, the way the world should be. And this is Fiji, where happiness finds you.
As the pandemic raged, Joe Gray rallied people to not lose hope. He himself was struggling and had to overcome his own fears.
I'd be lying to say that if we were still confident or if no one was actually taking this seriously, because in all honesty, I think everyone around the world, and speaking from experience, yes, it came as a shock. There was a lot of uncertainty amongst team members, and it was time to for me personally, to actually do soul searching, having to review your lifestyle, having to accept changes that will come, and changes depending on either phases of reduced hours, reduced days, and anticipating the loss of it should it had continued. With this COVID, it actually, for me, I believe that it tested your faith. As a Christian and as a believer, we always say that we let our Father in heaven lead our day and rule our lives. But many of us couldn't come to acceptance of what had happened. And we started actually having self-pity and being self-centered, and everything was about ourselves. Whereas for me, I found it challenging, but rewarding and comforting that I continued to pray and that I was not shaken, because literally I had made out my plans of what if and what happens. And even to the verge of I was ready to sell my property if I had to, because time would warrant that, should I had lost my job and looked for other options. But that was a decision that I was not worried, not sad to do, but happy to do. In fact, I was excited about it.
Even though they were on reduced pay or had been laid off, and international travel had been ground to a halt, Joe and his team strived to keep the airport in shape and in good condition.
I had just come back from New Zealand after undergoing a heart surgery, and I was visiting the airport and having to go out and work at the airport about 3 days in a week. And during those 3 days, all we were doing was doing the extraordinary, which was cleaning. I was part of the cleaning team, and our role was just to maintain the cleanliness of the airport. If we had left it with vast area of that airport and the magnitude of it, if it is left unattended for at least a day or two, dust settles in very quickly, and that could be damaging for us with the air conditioning system and also other public areas. So within the first 3 months of COVID, all we were doing was just maintaining cleanliness at the airport and also landscaping. The emptiness of it didn't actually dampen our spirit, but it gave us innovations to do videos out from the airport, encouraging people to be vaccinated.
Mulavinaka, Fiji, this is Joe Gray coming to you live from your very own Nandi International Airport. This morning we're blessed to have the presence of Dr. Rachel Devi and the team here at Nandi that are planning and coordinating the drive-through vaccination that we will be hosting from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. If you haven't been vaccinated on your first jab, or if you're waiting your second jab, the doors of Nandi International Airport will be open to you from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday for a drive-through vaccination. Remember, it's a drive-through vaccination, but it will be a drive-through with a difference right here at Nandi International Airport. Behind me, I have a hard-working team from the Ministry of Health and stakeholders that have put their hands up to volunteer to be part of the vaccination drive from tomorrow till Friday. The vaccination drive at the airport tomorrow is strictly for 18 years old and above. For those of you that will be returning for your second, and for those of you that wish to come for your first. As from tomorrow, our vaccination drive starts from 9 in the morning, and that will continue until 2 o'clock. And from Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, it will be 9 to right here at Nandi International Airport. So if you're thinking of taking that jab, drive through to Nandi International Airport, as it's the last day of our drive-through vaccination today, and behind our hard-working team that will facilitate and serve you on your drive-through, and I'm sure they echoing the same sentiments as me. What say, team? Freedom! Come along, we're waiting for you.
Joe Gray understood that vaccination was key to the reopening of borders.
With the airport having to plan what our new processes would be, what the new norms would bring. And for Fiji airports, we have a responsibility, and that is the safety of our stakeholders, which are our family members. And well before we could venture into showcasing our systems and processes of what a safe aerodrome we are, and that to assure safety to tourists and external visitors that come in, we've got to ensure that the inside is all well. So we implemented out a policy of vaccination. No vaccine, no vaccination, you cannot enter the airport. Within a week, we managed to actually hit the 100% of all airport stakeholders being vaccinated.
Throughout June until borders opened in November, Joe kept drumming the message of vaccination and hope, taking to social media every day to spread the message and urge people on.
So what was going on in my mind at the time, yes, I was a bit emotional when I had that video, but I didn't want to show emotion. Because in situations like that, believe me, we've been through tougher situations than that. Someone's got to be strong and someone's got to be positive. And my positive message was that have that door open again. And at the end of this week, I'm going to be going back to that very sliding door that I did that video from to say thank you to people for hearing and adhering to that call. Because the result of it is now something that people are beginning to feel, enjoy, and will slowly have the restoration of normality in their lives back for.
As one of Fiji's main frontliners, Joe did not let the situation get him down or break his stride, continuing to display the Mbula smile and taking action to get the country back on track.
The lessons that we've learned is to accept things as they come, but look at the bright side of it and always continue to look at the bright side of it. When COVID hit and when there was nil movement, no one thought of the extra things that we could do at the airport. Like we managed to actually do an overhaul to our landscaping. We managed to actually look at certain areas at the airport where we'd rearrange furniture and actually work on our current flow chart with our system, scrutinize the system that we have to ensure that we have processes ready and backups in contingencies when we open. So those were the things that we were able to do only when you're positive. But if negativity is with you, you'll just sit and wait for either assistance, mana, prayer, and government, and people will just keep crying, chasing their tails, and throwing all sorts of negativity tantrums, whereas you could be doing something useful, positive, and productive during that time.
This is Joe Gray coming to you live from a very, very busy and excited Nadi International Airport. Today also marks a significance in my life and the lives of the many frontliners, as we're the first ones to receive our booster. And this booster is to actually enhance and help us prepare for the readiness of the opening of our borders tomorrow. I'm getting my booster shot through this beautiful staff nurse, Nancy. Is it so? Okay. Here I go. 1, 2, 3. Nancy's put it in. And yes, yes, yes. Done, Nancy? Booster shot done. Yay! Now it's your turn.
For me personally, the changes that happened in my life was the lifestyle. I must say that the curfew assisted and helped in many aspects. For instance, avoiding late nights, which meant cutting down on grog sessions and other expenditures that you do, clubbing for that matter, and going to pubs. So even though the salaries were actually reduced, you were still able to save, which I did. I'll honestly admit that during COVID, that was the only time in my whole entire life that I was able to save money. And also, changing the meal plan. Okay, no more restaurants and eateries and things, and having to start my own garden. Well, with the help of my cousin that I live with, that we started planting, and 6 months later, we were eating out of what we've planted at home, which is so wonderful, and it also gave us a realization of what we took for granted that we should seriously consider and continue, especially self-sustainability and also living a more humbling life than extravagance.
Even with the little resources they had, as the border reopened, Joe and his team continued to strive to maintain the highest international standards, doing their part to ensure that Fiji was safely opened to the world.
Believe me, we may not have the best infrastructure like Singapore. We don't have the money like Dubai to put gold on our walkways and tap handlers. However, the Fiji process that we have, we've just facilitated a celebrity last Monday, and her name is Rebel Wilson. She's currently here in Fiji. We only took 15 minutes from the door of the aircraft to the loading zone where she got her transfers. She's been around the world. She turned around to say, this has got to be the best, and this record will never be broken. You see? So small as we are, like I mentioned, during COVID, we could have sat back to say, okay, we're not going to be able to do this because we don't have the equipment. We don't have the technology like Singapore and Hong Kong has. But no, we didn't. Innovation, working together, creating that system, and doing things manually, mind you, we're still able to clock and process people less than 20 minutes. The ICAO standard time is 45. We're processing people at 20 to 15 minutes per person out of the aircraft during COVID and its restrictions to the loading zone. What more world class would you want from that?
The pursuit of happiness. Is that a worthwhile ambition? Searching for something or someone that will make you happy? Ula, the question is happiness something that you can actually find? Ula. And how do you know if you found it? And how long will it last? Ula! No, I've still got a whole monologue to do.
That is Rebel Wilson. Who's Rebel Wilson? She's an actress. Actress?
Instead of searching for happiness, is it simply better to open ourselves up to... Oh, what's that word? Bula. Bula. Are we better to put ourselves in a place where happiness finds you? Wait, Steve? This is so random. I know, I came here too. Fiji!
And as Fiji opened, Joe was back to his usual self.
Bulunaka, Fiji and the world.
being the welcoming face and with the ever positive Mbula spirit.
Bulunaka, this is Joe coming to you live from Nandi Airport as we welcome our Jetstar passengers and Jetstar flight. Behind me, the infamous and none other than the Sambeto Youth Group, entertaining our arriving visitors this afternoon.
If a person cannot appreciate waking up in the morning and looking up at the skies and appreciating life for life in a day, then they might as well die. And there's a lot of dead men walking, trust me. They think that they're alive, but they're not. Negativity, when it comes out of people, when they're actually degrading or judging or negatively judging people on social media, that's a dead man's life, you know? Because people that are alive actually produce and are productive and do things that are visible for the living. And it makes a difference and changes the heart of the living. For us, now that the borders are going to be open, yes, it's good news for everybody, but it gives us a great challenge. The challenge to maintain consistency and safety, because this is the new norm. Gone are the days where the plane doors will open and people can come out like a bull rush and head straight into immigration. Screening and surveillance is all part of arrivals. But we're working very closely with all stakeholders and the Ministry of Health that we're able to have surveillance, we're able to have screening, but at the same token deliver the Fijian hospitality and quality of that Mbula. Behind that mask, it must still be heard and it must also still be seen. Visitors can expect an even higher level of service with safety, smooth, seamless, and the best of hospitality, period.